Welcome to the I Love Coaching podcast, the show where we help coaches, entrepreneurs, and leaders build businesses that create massive impact. I'm Adam Roach, alongside my incredible co-host,
Jess Webber, and we're here today to bring you the best strategies, mindset shifts, and real-life success stories to help you level up in your coaching journey.
Whether you're launching your coaching business, scaling to 6 or 7 figures, or just looking for inspiration to push through, this podcast is your go-to resource.
We're bringing you expert insights, real talk, and actionable items every single episode. So if you're ready to take your coaching game to the next level,
then let's dive on in. Welcome back, everybody, to the I Love Coaching podcast. Jess, I'm here. Are you here?
I am here, and I'm so excited to be here.
Perfect. Me too. Jess, I don't know when this is going to drop. It's Memorial Day weekend. It is the Friday before. You have any big plans?
We are going to a car show across the river in Illinois. So
Nice.
Forrest, my father-in-law, and my child, and then I'm going to be a passenger princess.
Ooh,
It'll be so fun.
That'll be a lot of fun. So an Indiana boy, I mean, this is a big deal. This is Memorial Day weekend. It's the Indy 500. And this is something that race is near and dear to my heart. My dad and my son, we went for, I think, 8 years in a row when he was. So this is a really cool weekend, though. We are headed off to a tennis tournament this weekend. It's the South Carolina State Championship for the juniors. Amelia is the defending doubles champion, and Addison was a doubles runner-up last year. And we'll see how they do this year because they're going to be in higher age groups. Though I want our listeners, Jess, our listeners, for the most part, are entrepreneurs. You would agree, right?
I agree.
Yeah, mostly entrepreneurs in different verticals, whether that's coaching, whether that is, I mean, just different verticals all across the board. And we have noticed that a lot of the entrepreneurs that we connect with, that we have coached, that are in the community are solo, right? They're by themselves. Yeah. And so I have been blessed and have the fortunate opportunity to have you in my life for nearly 3 years. When is it 3 years? Is it 3 years, 2026?
Correct. January
Yeah.
of
Okay.
26.
So we're at about 2.5 years.
I met you about May or June of 22, which is when I started trying to translate 200 pages of gibberish into what we now have as a blueprint.
Hey. That gibberish has turned into something very powerful now. Okay. So, but what I want to have this topic be is the importance of having an integrator, a partner, someone right by your side as a Jess Webber. And I don't know if I should say this, but this is really funny. You planted this seed, Jess. So this Instagram, this podcast is going to be not about BJ's, but it's about BJ. This is about Before Jess is what we're going to say. It's a Before Jess podcast. That's what it's about. Okay. So no, in all seriousness, what we're going to talk about is, as a solopreneur, the importance of having a Jess in your life, the importance of having an integrator in your life. So let me go into our funny little BJ acronym there. Before Jess. So in my life, I have had assistants before. I have had, when I was running Keller Williams franchises, I had a team around me, and everybody had unique roles, right? We had in Keller Williams, we had CFOs, better known as MCAs. We had director of first impressions, better known as front desk people. We had agent service coordinators, better known as just support people. We had productivity coaches, better known as productivity coaches, and so on and so forth, right?
Yeah.
But never really was there an integrator in the role. And I learned about the integrator role through reading the book.
Rocket
what was the name of the
Fuel.
book?
Gino
Rocket
Wickman.
Fuel. Yeah, Gino Wickman, Rocket Fuel. What was the book of EOS?
Traction.
Traction. That's what it was.
Yep.
So I read Traction and then read Rocket Fuel. There are assessments out there. You can go take a Rocket Fuel assessment, which will expose visionary or integrator, or if you're lucky like me and you find a unicorn in a Jess Webber that is both a visionary and an integrator, your life gets a heck of a lot easier. So life before Jess, before an integrator, was me doing a lot of visionary, heavy lifting type stuff with some integration, right? Some integration of simple little processes, very amateurish though. Okay. And I'm not disrespecting anybody that I had in EA roles in the past. They just weren't integrators, right? So an integrator, from my experience and my opinion, and then I want to hear, Jess, your definition of it, is exactly what it sounds like, right? The integrator is someone that is coming in, that is helping take the visionaries, what did you call me? My language, gibberish, my gibberish, and translating it into something that is more professional, right? I'm just going to simply say professional, or something more systematic, or something that creates efficiency and effectiveness, because that's what you did. Our very first step was me sending you my original blueprint. And because you have a background, and I'll let you share what that background is, which is absolutely amazing to me, you were able to send me something back that probably took me, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 weeks to put together. I think you sent it back to me in like 90 minutes, jerk. And we're like, listen, this is, I see your brain, but here's my brain, and let me show you how much bigger it is. And I was like, okay, you're going to be part of my team. I'm going to figure this out. And next thing you know, we've been team members now for the last 2.5 years. So that's a little before Jess and now current Jess. But Jess, in your experience, in your definition, what is an integrator?
I love this. And I'm grateful that you're asking the question, because I was like, our listeners, if they haven't read Traction or EOS or Rocket Fuel, may not even know what that is. And so to me, a visionary is a quintessential entrepreneur. It's the big thinker. They have big ideas and they want to change.
Wait a minute, did you just roll your eyes there for the people watching on that? When you said entrepreneur, did you roll your eyes, visionary?
No, I look at the ceiling when I think. So.
Okay, good.
I'm not rolling my eyes at you, although my mother would swear that I am a professional eye roller. So,
gotcha. Okay, gotcha.
It may have snuck out and I did it unconsciously.
You're an entrepreneur now, right? You're an entrepreneur now.
Oh, yeah. I truly am. And so
I'm sorry,
visionary, big thinker, big ideas, want to change the world. And I would almost call them an idea generator, meaning that they aren't content with the status quo. They constantly ideate and have new ideas to improve or grow bigger what they've already accomplished or are currently working on. And then the integrator, on the other hand, is the person who, as you said, executes, implements, systematizes, automates. They balance it like a yin and yang relationship. And you're exactly right. In the roles that we've been in the past in terms of real estate, I think so often the intention was that the director of operations, the CFO, the COO, whatever title or vernacular you want to use there, they were intended to be an integrator for the person growing the office, all of those kinds of things. But that relationship wasn't respected or encouraged in the way that you and I have a relationship now. And so I think that there's a lot of beauty in what we do, because you see me as an equal, which to me, that is the foundation of having a solid integrator and visionary relationship. Is it's not a top-down approach, it's an equality approach.
Sure.
You have the big vision. And if we go back to career visioning and looking at things, there was an image that I loved of the visionary having a vision like a circle, right? But it's big enough to encompass the vision of every person in that visionary's world. So I have a vision for myself. That's my own circle. It fits inside your vision as a visionary, right? My integrator vision. And so I think that that's really important, is if you feel like you are a visionary, you got to have a big vision. And I'll challenge you on that. If you feel like you're an integrator or you're currently integrating, then you need to either cast your vision bigger to become that visionary, or find a visionary that can be a partner with you. And then you work together. And so Adam and I are in communication daily. We're on Zoom a couple times a week, finding alignment, talking through the ideas. And then I tell him one thing a week that I'm working on. Which, let me tell you this, for those of you listening that are visionaries, you're like, but I want to move fast. I want to go fast. I want to build things. I want to do big things. It takes time to build. Let me say that again. It takes time to build. So please slow the frick down and let the people that you've built relationships with and that you trust do the things necessary to move the business forward.
Well, here's the thing. Visionaries, I'm going to go back and take your side now.
Yeah.
Integrators don't move slow.
No.
What they do is they get stuff done better than we would do. Okay. So just an example. I had this idea, this big idea last Friday. Was it last Friday? Yeah, I think it was last Friday with the quiz.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe it was Monday. I don't remember. And just liked the idea as well. She saw what the quiz could do as it relates to a lead magnet or an opportunity to create even more exposure or more awareness of our community. And sure, I could have fumbled my way into figuring out how to do it. I'm sure I would have lived on ChatGPT for a long time. Actually, of course, I wanted it done the day after the idea came to my mind, but I couldn't have got it done in a day after it came to my mind. So knowing that when I can give Jess these ideas, you got it done in what, 3 days, 4 days?
Yeah,
and
this week.
Here's the neat, this week. And here's the neat part about that. Visionaries, you don't have to stop your ideas. What you have to do is you have to prioritize your ideas and look at them and ask the integrator, okay, based on these, here's my priority. What's the time frame it's going to take for you to accomplish this? Okay, great. 3 days. Great. Let's look at the next one after that's gone. So this one becomes priority number one. Now, what's the time frame? And when you can do that, visionaries, at least there's an expectation, and maybe they hit the deadlines, maybe they don't, but at least there's an expectation. And Jess, that is something that you have done so well inside of our integrator visionary relationship that I sleep well at night because of that.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think it goes back to, we worked together to build the relationship. So I communicated more heavily, not to the micromanaging level. Actually, you told me you don't need to know everything. When we first started working, I was like, I did this. It took me 30 minutes. I did this. It took me an hour. You're like, stop. I don't care. Just tell me what the list is at the end of the week or even the end of the day, but that created trust at the beginning. And then I built systems around what you were trying to achieve and what we were trying to do as a company so that you knew, hey, this was a system for a daily thing, or this was a system for a weekly thing or a monthly thing or an annual thing. And then because you knew the system was built and documented, you and I never have to discuss those things again. And so that leaves space, like you said, you sleep well at night and there's trust because you are no longer feeling like you have to micromanage anything that's built into a system and documented.
That's right.
So now the only thing that we have to discuss is change, something new, something we're developing, something we're changing, something we're creating from scratch, whatever the thing is. But all of the systems create security. They create a solid foundation. And you know that I'm going to put those in my calendar based on when they need to be done. I get the bills paid. I get the people communicated with. I handle the emails. All the little nuanced stuff that needs to be done is done. And we don't ever discuss it unless there's a problem. And then it's, the opportunity to go do new things, which is so fun.
So again, I'm going to, well, no, it's great. I'm going to go back to the visionary side here. Yeah. Visionaries, when you have an integrator, the key is trust, right? So trust has to be built and developed. How do you add or build trust? Trust, the way that I look at, I think there's two things that you must have in a solid relationship: open communication and trust. Right? You have to have both of those things. And in my mind, what is open communication? Simply, Jess can see my calendar. I can see her calendar. That's a good open communication around time of what is Jess doing right now? What am I doing? And again, it's not as if you need to micromanage anything, but there's exposure to that. And then when it looks like trust, okay, great. If Jess has time blocked that she's working on the quiz that I ideated and thought I'd bring to life, and she's like, oh, I'm going to bring it to life, I can see in her time block that she's working on this. Right. But very rarely now do I ever look at her calendar. Secondly, is visionaries, you've got to understand that when you are in a space of this type of relationship, it ain't about you. Right. This isn't about you. This is about your company. And John Maxwell, if you've read his book, The 5 Levels of Leadership, if you're stuck at level 1 leadership, which is positional leadership, you are not going to find and retain a unicorn like a Jess Webber. You're just not going to do it because the world becomes about you and not about a we. And if it's about a you lose. I'm going to tell you right now, you are going to lose if you are in a space of looking to find talent, keeping and retaining talent, and it's all about you. They're not going to stay. They're not going to stay.
Well, and from the integrator side, I'm not going to be bought in. If the vision only encompasses your vision and not mine, I'm not bought in. So that's why I like that visual of like the visionary's vision has to be big enough to include everything I want to, because I either need to have a path to achievement in your vision or through your vision.
That's right.
And us having conversations about my vision and your vision and making sure there's still alignment of a path to or through keeps me loyal, keeps me bought in, keeps me motivated to keep going. So it's not you micromanaging. It's not a top-down approach. It's not bribery. It's not anything that's a negative. It's I can see everything that I want in the world, either through your vision or with your vision. And that to me means that I'm going to play all in. But you're exactly right. Communication and trust. So calendar is one. Two is respecting the fact that it takes me time to build things and that I need space to work in. So you are like one of the first things I established with you. You're not allowed to call me unless the house is on fire.
Sure.
Right. Yeah. And so we created a tiered communication system where you are not allowed to email me unless you're connecting me to somebody else.
You got to be careful with this language here. You got to be careful with the language. Visionaries don't like to be told what to do.
True,
what we did was establish boundaries and the general sense of we chat via DM all day long, right? We can chat via DM all day long. If there is a higher need for communication, then we pick up a phone and call each other, right? So there isn't necessarily a I told you so. No, it is a level of communication that is established of what is the priority, what is the urgency factor of this. Like if Jess has to take her son to an emergency doctor, it's still a DM, though if she needs something in the hospital, then it's a phone call, right? It's very simple that way. Yeah.
Yes. I didn't mean it as a negative. I apologize if it came across that way. But
no, it didn't to me. But there are visionaries out there that if they have an integrator that's going to say, you're not allowed to, that's not going to land well with them. I'm just letting you know. Yeah.
Valid point. And the idea is that they actually get more done and they get more if they respect a hierarchy that they set out with their integrator, which is where I was headed. So for us, it's Google Chat all day, every day. And then if somehow we've missed Google Chat, we're away from the computer, it's a text message, and then the phone call is the house is on fire. And we only use email to connect with another, like a third party human, not to send ideas or anything through. And I think by creating that tiered level of communication, that is one of the things that builds that trust. In addition to the fact that we as entrepreneurs both live life not by a 40-hour work week. And so the other trust piece of this that I wanted to throw out here in this partnership and relationship situation is that I do not report to you 40 hours a week. You do not report to me 40 hours a week and as a partner or anything, but we both have bookend meetings Monday and Friday where we talk about what is our intention for the week and then how did the week go. And then we trust each other to get the thing done that we said we were going to do on Monday by Friday.
That's right. Yep.
And so trust to me is huge there.
Well, and again, so a little behind the scenes is every Monday we follow our own L10 meeting. So it's a level 10 meeting via EOS, though we've added our own spin to it. So we have, I don't know, probably about a dozen or a dozen and a half or so data points that we are following and tracking. We have our to-dos, and then we have what are called the IDS, identify, discuss, and solve, right? And so those are challenges that we need to break down. And right now we're following one specifically on a path to hitting specific goals. Friday is exactly what you said. The Friday meeting is a quick little 1 hour where Mondays is 90 minutes. And that is what was good about the week. What did we accomplish in the week? What were some wins? What were some opportunities? And let's be done. And the week's over.
Yeah.
Super clean, super simple. Real quick, Jess, let me ask you a few questions from your seat. As we are discussing the integrator role, maybe someone's not going to go take the rocket fuel assessment.
Sure.
And maybe they don't feel like they're a visionary, but they're in a visionary seat because they're an entrepreneur, right? Let's be honest. An entrepreneur has to have a vision.
Yeah,
they have to have a vision. They really have to have a vision. But but maybe they're more of an integrator, right? What would you suggest? And maybe they're stuck, right? Maybe their vision isn't coming to life as much as they want to. What would you say to that integrator? How would you help them? What would you do?
I would challenge them to find a visionary that can understand what they're trying to accomplish and provide feedback.
Good.
So that might be a coach that you hire. That
Mm.
might be a community that you join, that you trust. Or you might end up finding a visionary partner who's trying to achieve the same thing as you. And you work together to accomplish the vision that you've created. But I think it's really important to find other humans that can help you, either if you're the visionary side, rein it in, or if you're the integrator, get out of the weeds. And so, because I know as an integrator, even Adam has challenged me on this when I was building my own coaching business, of don't get stuck so hyper focused on building everything like Field of Dreams so that people will come. Go ahead and start failing forward and trying things and seeing what aligns and taking action. And as an integrator, all of those felt like very dirty words. I didn't like any of that feedback. And yet that feedback was exactly what I needed. But I wouldn't have had that if I didn't have a partner, a coach, or a community to tell me that. And so I think most entrepreneurs fail, whether you lean visionary or integrator side, when they try to do it as a solopreneur. I truly believe that going solo is the fastest way to failure. And it doesn't mean that you as a visionary immediately need to drop all the money and hire a full-time integrator, but it does mean finding a place to work with somebody else and eventually hire, an independent contractor who maybe works for you fractionally, or hiring a coach that can expedite some processes so you make enough money to go hire somebody. And I think that if you keep that in mind, you can achieve your vision a whole lot faster.
Great advice. Great advice. That's really good. Knowing what you know now about the integrator role, what would be one thing that you would have liked to expedite it or to shrink the learning curve there in your integrator role so that things happen faster for something? I don't know. What have you learned? What would you tell yourself 3 years ago? Right? What one piece of advice would you tell yourself 3 years ago?
I think I would have told myself that 80% done in my perfectionist nature is still 100% awesome. That's a quote from Dan Martell's book, Buy Back Your Time, which is right behind Adam. Learning that concept, because I am a perfectionist as an integrator by nature. I want it done and I want it done perfectly because I never want to have to touch it again. But my 80% is still probably 110% for Adam. And so I would spend extra time trying to get it to my 100%. And that doesn't always need to be the case. So again, it doesn't have to be perfectly built to utilize, execute, and fail forward or succeed forward with. And so I think you and I would have moved even faster if I hadn't spent so much time trying to make everything perfect.
Gotcha. That's good. That's really good advice. So anyone out there that has an integrator that is trying to be perfect, you can tell them to stop, or you can tell them to call Jess. Yeah, because Jess will.
Well, Adam, a big piece of that though was you giving me permission. I needed to hear it from you. Like I couldn't get there myself. And I didn't always realize I was doing it myself. So having you as a partner to say, hey, Jess, you are stuck in the weeds right now. You are trying to make this perfect. And I think it's perfect as it is. You had to almost train my brain that way and decondition me a little bit from my own behaviors to help me move forward faster. And that's where the whole me being both a visionary and integrator is just the weirdest thing, because there's days that I only want to be a visionary and there's days I only want to be an integrator. And I think the partnership with you is perfect because you are one of the most detail-oriented, data-driven visionaries I've ever met. And so I think we balance each other well. And that's another thing that I would say I wish I'd learned is find alignment with your person. So like I've been in other relationships with other visionaries and there was not alignment there. And it was like pulling teeth the whole time. And I wish I'd cut that off way faster and been like, nope, I need to go find my person.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. Jess, this has been fun. I love having podcasts that are all about you, and this was well deserved because what you have created inside of I Love Coaching, being the architect behind it all, is the impact. I mean, we're on the way to hit our vision statement, which is to empower coaches to change and serve 100 million people. By the way, I have an idea behind that of like a ticker so we can see our 100 million. But that's our vision, and that you bought into. You live that in a general sense of knowing that everything we are doing is to bring that vision statement to life. And that as a visionary is that's just music to my ears, is when you have someone bought into the actual vision that you created, and now that vision is coming to life because the integrator is helping you get there faster. That's a win-win for sure.
Well, I really appreciate you giving me the space to talk to people about it, because I do think it's something that is not talked about enough in the entrepreneurial world, because again, most are visionaries. And so they're not talking about how do you succeed? How do you grow? How do you grow a team? All of that. And I think there's a lot of value in having this conversation. And if you didn't notice, I'm slightly passionate about it.
Yeah, well, because you're really good at it, right? You are really, really good at it. And I know that you coach people on how to do this. And I know that you have impacted a ton of people. Heck, you were just in Canada, for God's sakes, helping someone do this. So that's super cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jess, wind us down, land this plane. What should our listeners do right now?
As always, if you like this and you want more value, then our newsletter is the way to go. So ilovecoachingco.com. You can join our newsletter there. You can watch other podcast episodes, blog, all the things, but we deliver all of that to your inbox so that you don't get distracted or overwhelmed. So the newsletter is the place to go.
Yes, it is. Go check it out. Go sign up for it, and we will see you next time. See you, Jess. Bye.